Imagine all the gold you could ever think of, then double it. That's the amount of wealth controlled by the wealthiest man in history. Yet, most people will go their entire lives without ever learning his name. If someone asked you who the richest man that ever lived is, it might be tempting to mention modern-day billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or even the anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, especially given the rise of wealth and the creation of money out of cryptocurrency. However, all of these answers would be incorrect. To discover the identity of the wealthiest individual to have ever lived, one must travel back in time to West Africa during the Mali Empire in the 1300s. If you're not familiar with the greatness of the Mali Empire during that period, don't be too hard on yourself. Western history often overlooks the accomplishments of African nations before colonialism. History textbooks frequently highlight the achievements of great minds in the West, even though there's ample evidence that many of those discoveries were already made somewhere else in the world.
You are now watching the White Obsidian channel.
The Mali Empire boasted considerable wealth, thanks to its possession of 3 large gold mines that constituted half of the world's gold reserves during that time. The region was flourishing and further enriched by its abundance of salt and copper, emphasizing the opulence of this African kingdom. Mansa Musa was born in the year 1280 in Niani, a small town located in the Mandinka Kingdom in West Africa. His father was Fagale, the king of Niani, and his mother was Sasuma Beriti. Growing up, Mansa Musa received an education in Islamic religion, culture, and language, which would later prove instrumental in his reign as the Emperor of Mali. In 1312 CE, Muhammad ibn Ku, the ruler of Mali during that time, embarked on a voyage across the Atlantic in search of new land. Unfortunately, he was never heard from again. In his absence, Mansa Musa took the throne as emperor, propelling Mali to become one of the richest empires in human history and earning himself the title of the wealthiest person to have ever lived. Side note, it wasn't well documented in history records whether both individuals are related. Upon assuming the role of emperor, Musa realized that controlling half of the world's gold was insufficient to raise Mali's profile. Consequently, he sought to expand his empire's trading network, aiming to attract more business to the nation. At that time, Mali was not well known in Europe or the Middle East, where most major trading cities and city-states were located. Mansa Musa, a devout Muslim who was fluent in Arabic, leveraged his language skills to expand his trading network to the Middle East. Every Muslim is required to make a pilgrimage, or Hajj, to the holy sites in Mecca, located in present-day Saudi Arabia, at least once in their lifetime. Mecca, the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad, is considered the most spiritually intense experience for Muslims. In 1324 CE, Mansa Musa embarked on a 4,000-mile journey to Mecca for the Hajj. The voyage was significant, marking his presence on the Kettle Atlas, a medieval world map. Musa traveled with his entire royal court, officials, soldiers, griots, also known as historical storytellers, merchant camel drivers, and 12,000 enslaved individuals, all of whom were adorned in gold brassard and the finest Persian silks. During the pilgrimage, everyone carried vast amounts of gold across the Saharan desert, with their camels bearing the brunt of the burden. While on his journey, Mansa Musa and his crew made stops in several cities, including Cairo in Egypt. They gave away a lot of gold to help the poor, They financed the construction of mosques and even contributed to public works like housing projects. Mansa Musa wanted to make the Hajj easier and less stressful for his fellow Muslims, which was an unusual act of kindness for the leaders during that time. According to history, Mansa Musa handed out large sums of gold to both the poor and wealthy people he encountered on his journey, which caused significant economic turmoil in the areas that he traveled through. One example of this was in Egypt, where Mansa Musa distributed so much gold that it significantly devalued the local currency, as his caravan carried over 8,000 pounds of gold, which he generously gave to the people of Cairo and other cities he visited. The influx of gold into Egypt's economy caused a sharp increase in commodity prices, leading to inflation and economic instability. The value of the Egyptian currency plummeted, and it took years for the economy to recover from the shock. While Mansa Musa's generosity is commendable, his distribution of vast amounts of gold had unintended consequences on the economies of the regions that he visited. The impact of Mansa Musa's gold distribution highlights the importance of responsible economic policies and the need for caution when introducing significant amounts of wealth into an economy. Despite his immense power and wealth, Mansa Musa was recognized for his piety, compassion, and benevolence. He was a devout Muslim and believed in promoting the faith through education and philanthropy. Mansa Musa was acknowledged for providing financial support to religious scholars, sponsoring the construction of mosques and madrasas, and even funding the pilgrimage of other Muslims to Mecca. Mansa Musa, the 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire, was not only known for his immense wealth, but also for his generosity and philanthropy. Unfortunately, most of today's billionaires are not like Mansa Musa. Instead of using their wealth to support charitable causes, they often hoard their wealth, becoming richer and more powerful, while inequality and poverty continue to rise. While people like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett do exist as philanthropists, most of today's billionaires don't do similar gestures. Many of them use their wealth to purchase luxury items like gold purses and diamond cars, instead of using it to help those in need. This hoarding of wealth can have serious consequences for society as a whole. It can lead to economic instability, social unrest, and a lack of investment in critical areas like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. In addition, many rich celebrities do not engage in charity and instead use their money to purchase extravagant items like gold toilet papers and diamond toothbrushes. This behavior highlights the stark contrast between Mansa Musa's legacy of philanthropy and leadership and the actions of many of today's billionaires and celebrities, while inequality and poverty around the world continue to rise.
I have a Lambo, I have a Lamborghini truck,
Yeah.
I have a Bentley truck, I have a Maybach, and I have a Suburban, so
Okay,
5.
5 cars. Now, here's my biggest question. You can't drive.
No.
So what's the point of having the cars?
To take pictures with it.
On the flip side, numerous banks have caused financial devastations for millions of individuals. One particularly notable example was the 2008 financial crisis. By clicking on the link below, or in the top right corner, you can view our video that sheds light on how major banks in the United States destroyed the livelihoods of millions due to their greed, yet faced little to no repercussions. Mansa Musa's reign came to an end in 1337 CE at the age of 57 years old, when he was succeeded by his son, Magan I. Magan I's reign was marked by a period of stability and growth. He continued the policies of his father, supporting education and Islamic scholarship, and also expanded Mali's trade relationships with North African and Middle Eastern powers. However, Magan I's reign was not without its challenges. There were several rebellions and uprisings throughout his reign that threatened the stability of the empire. Despite these challenges, Magan I managed to keep the empire relatively stable. After the death of Magan I in an undocumented year, the Mali Empire began to decline. The empire was weakened by conflicts between rival factions and by attacks from neighboring empires, such as the Songhai Empire. By the late 16th century, around 1591 CE, the Mali Empire had fragmented into several smaller states, and the once great empire was reduced to a shadow of its former glory. Despite the decline of the Mali Empire, Mansa Musa's legacy continued to inspire future generations. His pilgrimage to Mecca helped to spread the influence of Islam in West Africa. He remains a revered figure in West African history, and his legacy continues to inspire philanthropic and educational initiatives in West Africa. While the world has changed significantly since the time of Mansa Musa, his example of using wealth for the greater good remains an inspiration for people everywhere. It's a reminder that true wealth is not measured by the amount of money in one's bank account, but by the positive impact that one has on the world around them.